Believe it or not, one thing that creates almost a universal increase in clicks once you have the size of your button optimized is to round the corners of the button. And there's a study here from Harvard Medical School by two psychologists who presented test subjects with 140 different objects and found that the rounded ones were favored 33% more than the sharp objects were. And just to show you it's not an outlier, the same actually goes for rooms. Another study asked people to say whether a room was beautiful or not, and overwhelmingly people found rooms with rounded features more beautiful than rooms with sharper edges. And this is sort of hardwired into us because we tend to associate sharp things with danger, and also because it actually takes the brain longer to process a shape with corners versus a rounder object. In terms of CTA buttons, the sharp corners point away from the thing that you want people to do, which is to click on it, and rounded objects tend to get you to focus on what's inside. And you can see here that they not only rounded the corners, but also changed the color and saw a 36% increase in click-through rate. And this is why color is important as well, but there really is no one best color despite the studies you might read online. I can tell you that a lot of case studies will say red, like the one you see here, which resulted in a 21% increase, but if you have red as the predominant color on your website, it's not going to get you very many clicks because it's just going to blend in. And here you have a post that's essentially a joke, making fun of all the other posts online that claim one color is the best. I can tell you that Amazon uses orange, and they test relentlessly, but just because that works well for them doesn't mean the same is going to work for you. Bottom line, you want a color that stands out from the main colors on your site. One thing to keep in mind, though, as far as using red or green for your call to action button is people who are colorblind. And it's sort of a misnomer because almost everybody who's considered colorblind only has problems seeing red and green. They can see all the other colors just fine. But it is 4.5% of the population, and if your visitors are mostly men, it's going to be closer to 8 or 9%. Another thing to think about when you're designing a call to action button is to make sure the other things on your page don't look like they're also call to action buttons. You can see this company here saw a 45% increase in clicks after making the call to action button the center of attention and moving the distractions to the sidebar. Same for this company, OpenMile, who had what looked like 3 call to action buttons on their old homepage, and then they redesigned with a focus on the central call to action button, and that led to a 232% increase in leads. Now, I talk about this in the lecture on Hello Bar, but using arrows to bring attention to your call to action can often help in conversions as well. On a site for a luxury product or a high-end service, this might not be a good idea because it can take away some of the prestige of your image, but for the majority of sites, you should test out an arrow. The text surrounding the button can also have a big effect on whether people feel comfortable enough to click. You can see here by adding the privacy policy, just 2 short sentences increase clicks by 19%. But the word choice here is important because here you can see a 19% decrease by adding a privacy policy. And it may be that the word spam here just made people uncomfortable. Finally, you want to test out using testimonials next to your CTA button and saying no credit card required if that's the case, if you're trying to get people to sign up for a free trial, for example. Because what scares some people away from even clicking on the free trial button is whether or not they're going to have to enter their credit card information. You don't ever want to assume that your customers will figure something out or that they should know something already.